So, Wicked and Gladiator II, aka Glicked, God, fueled $205 million combined over the weekend. Best pre Thanksgiving fame in 11 years. Sunday AM box office update. I've crapped on Wicked because it's not my cup of tea and I don't like the actresses, but I said last week when I streamed, I said it's going to do well. It's going to be like a Barbie level, kind of movie. I've heard, like, anecdotally, I've heard mixed reviews about it, but I've heard the people that like it really effing like it. So here you go. Two of the most anticipated tentpoles this year missed their projections, but are still rich enough to make exhibition happy in what's driving an overall estimated $205 million weekend. Intelligence says that a combined 12 million people went to see Wicked and Gladiator II, presenting 81% of the weekend's foot traffic. Everyone relish it. That's on par with the pre Thanksgiving fame of 2019 when Frozen 2 drove all the titles to $204.9 million, and its biggest since 2013 when Lionsgate's The Hunger Games Catching Fire drove all titles to a $226.5 million marketplace. Hands down, biggest pre Thanksgiving post pandemic. Yeah, it. I knew it was going to do well. It didn't take a genius to see that. Wicked was a huge ongoing Broadway show that they were going to turn into a movie. Casting aside, it got a lot of buzz. It has been, it is getting a lot of buzz. They put out a crap ton of merchandise and just really pumped the advertising on this thing. And everybody was talking about it, good, bad, or indifferent. Even people like Nerdrotic complimented it, and at the same time said he absolutely hated it and it's not because the movie itself not his cup of tea. And I can respect that he was honest about it. He said the costuming was good, the singing was good, the acting was good, the set pieces were good, and he absolutely hated it. I can respect that. I've been that way with a lot of movies where it's like, not my cup of tea, but I can't say that it is objectively a bad movie. It's just not a movie for me. I've done that with various shows as well. But in here, keeping on with that, Gladiator 2 did pretty well, but Wicked was where it was at over the weekend. Kind of saw that one coming. Again, you don't have to be Nostradamus. Deadline again. Wicked Part 1, all the box office records broken. I think it's all musical theater records here. Broadway musicals adapted to the screen are an erratic genre at the box office, blah, 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 blah. Yet for every La Miserable hit from Universal, there was a massive misfires like Dear Evan Hansen and Cats. Yeah, those ones look awful. Absolutely awful. You've also got, what was another? I just had it on the tip of my tongue. Another musical that just bombed out. Sweeney Todd did pretty well as far as I know. They yeah, anyway, it doesn't matter. I'll get back to it. Oh, so the one with Rachel Zegler. Speaking of her, the West Side Story. They remade West Side Story a few years ago, and it absolutely bombed out. But anyway, back to this. This weekend, Universal defied the odds with their feature take of the $5 billion grossing Broadway stage show Wicked, opening to $114 million domestically, $164.2 million worldwide. Here's all the records Wicked broke in its opening weekend. Biggest global and domestic opening for a movie based on a Broadway show. Wow. Yeah, that surprised me a tiny bit, but not really, just because of the subject matter. Lam is Rob and Into the Woods. Yeah, I mentioned that. Those are the two that always come to mind. I think about successful musicals turned into shows, or excuse me, movies. That besides like what I mentioned with Sweeney Todd, one of the only musicals I really like. Biggest global and domestic opening for Ariana Grande ever. Is that really a record? I guess that's just a stat. But biggest domestic opening for a pop star with Wicked being the first film sold around the likeness of Lady Gaga. Blah 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 blah. Oh, Harry Styles. Don't worry, darling. Was that a? Oh, I think they just mean movies. Sorry, I was thinking musicals turned into movies. Biggest global and domestic opening ever for Cynthia Erivo. Well, yeah. I mean, the only other thing I can think of her being in isn't she in The Sandman? It's the only other thing I can think of. Maybe it's not her and it just somebody looks like her, but I'm pretty sure it's her. Biggest global and domestic opening ever for filmmaker John M. Chu. Biggest domestic opening for producer Matt Platt or Mark Platt. They're kind of padding the stats with some of these records, but um, yeah, biggest global. But here we go. Biggest global opening for a non-sequel film for 2024. Pretty good. Biggest opening ever for a musical featured by Steven Schwartz, and biggest domestic previews for a movie based on a Broadway musical at $19.2 million. And it goes on and on and on. Blah blah blah. Tons of them. All yeah. If you go to Deadline, you can see all that. It did really well. Bottom line, it did well.